Hello, Virgo. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. And one last happy birthday to all of you. I hope all of you had wonderful birthdays. All right, Virgo. So it's not bad, but I think that a lot of you are now being forced to become a witness to something that is going on that you may have been ignoring or not trusting yourself and your intuition regarding a situation here. So, witness. To know personal evidence and to speak out, and then the spirit whisperer, divine guidance, and higher knowing. And this did show up as a challenge. Now, as a challenge, it's saying that you're about to go astray and that you need to pay attention to the red flags in your own inner guidance so that you don't end up in a mess. And as far as relationships go, it says that, this is something that may be a repeat of a lesson that you have already learned, that you don't need to go through that again. When you're looking at witness, it's basically saying that the veils of illusion and deceit are being lifted. So you can't hide anymore. Your eyes are opening up to what is going on. You need to become a witness to your own personal experience here and learn to trust your intuition again so that, you're not seeing the same thing happen again to you. All right, Virgo. Here's your overall, the star, beautiful. So no matter what's going on here, with the star being the overall, we're talking about the healing of a situation, you healing yourself, having hope again, having hope restored, looking at the bigger and the better. So perfect. It's perfect. Now, in the past, and again, it's perfect here because in the past, with the Five of Cups, I think that this is something that you're still dealing with or trying to heal from. So we're talking about being disappointed, being in a place of emotional suffering, being let down, right? But finding hope again. In the present, the Knight of Wands. So with the Knight of Wands, we're talking about acting with passion. Now, for some of you, absolutely, you could be dealing with a situation or a person that's kind of been in and out of your life, which would explain why we're still pulling on, this disappointment and emotional pain from the past. But again, with the star being there, this situation is going to be healed for you. Things are going to get better, is what I feel like. Now, for a lot of you, it's needing to kind of get over this disappointment now and start acting with passion. But we'll see here. Future conditions, the Hermit. Why? With the Hermit, especially if we're talking about a situation that's like in and out, this could be, not necessarily you wanting to isolate yourself, but needing some time alone now to kind of think about the bigger and better. I don't deserve this anymore. I don't deserve to be disappointed or let down. But it bothers me looking at the progression, only because you get to a point where you feel like you need to shut everything out, right? But understandably, because you're searching for that star and it's right here. But definitely needing to take a moment to yourself to think about things, to reflect on everything, the deeper soul searching. But I still feel very good about the star being the overall, because regardless here, there's going to be hope restored to you. Your best path to follow, the Eight of Pentacles. I look at that and I think that you need to put your focus and your attention and your effort into what you really want, with the star being the overall, because you do deserve better than what you've experienced in the past. But there's going to have to be a lot of hard work and effort put on your part to get things kind of back on track here, to get the healing started and to feel hopeful again. But I'm still interested with this Knight of Wands. For some of you, it does kind of have the feeling of, I've been disappointed and let down. Now I'm acting towards something, but maybe it wasn't right for you, and that disappointment is continuing, and you just need to kind of like shut it out for a minute, Okay, all right. So the Three of Cups in your environment. Now, Because I'm looking at it this way. And I'm looking at you wanting to separate yourself from other people. Now, with the Three of Cups, we're talking about celebration, support. But with this disappointment coming through and looking at the Knight of Wands, we could definitely be talking about friends that may be in and out of your life. Or we could be talking about gossip. Or outside influences, third-party situations. You know, it could be any number of those things. But with the Three of Cups, you know, what I worry about here is almost like judgment from other people. The cackling hen syndrome is that what I'd like to refer to it as. You know, because the tea is what sticks out to me with this one. I mean, I love the Mad Hatter theme here, but, you know, spilling somebody's tea, right? Speaking out about something that they don't know about, and it may be based on action that you took, or we're talking about, like I said, you know, the support kind of coming in and out of your life, or we're talking about somebody who could be supporting you here. But I don't know. I always look at how the past is connected to what's in your environment. And clearly here, there is some disappointment and you being let down possibly by another person here emotionally. Your hopes and your fears, the Knight of Pentacles. You know, I don't think that you fear that things are not going to move forward. I think that the hope is that, you know, that eventually things are going to change. But again, I'm looking back at the Eight of Pentacles, and I think that a lot of you are going to have to put a lot of hard work and attention and detail into yourself and what is important to you in healing yourself, regardless of the people that are in your environment. A person in particular here who is dealing with a bunch of different people who may be talking about you, you know, whatever the case is. I look at that Knight of Pentacles and, you know, I think as long as you stick to your own plans and your own goals, no matter how long it takes here, eventually you're going to start to see things change. I think that you already know that it's going to be a slow and steady progress. You know, because you're already kind of like shutting everybody out. Like I'm really just, I'm tired of it, you know. And that's kind of what I feel like looking at the Hermit. And I love this Knight of Pentacles. It's Khaleesi for the Game of Thrones fans. Oh, and then coming out the Devil. But, you know, with the Star being the overall here, I do think that you're kind of getting away from that. You know, especially if it's concerning people. Third-party situations, right? But you're wanting it out. You're wanting to shut it out. You know, and again, it's going to be a lot of hard work. Things are not going to progress quickly, but I think that you're okay with that. But I think that the hope is that things are going to get better. You know, and for a lot of you, it could have to do with friends, with that Three of Cups. But with the Devil, we're still talking about the negative things that we're attached to, right? But you're shutting yourself out from it, though. But the problem is that for some of you, it may still be persistent. And then the Six of Cups, and then going right back to the past. And that is where the Devil is coming through. Gotcha. All right, the High Priestess. And again, right, like needing to trust your intuition. For some of you, you may be feeling really let down, emotionally disappointed by a person, but your intuition was kind of pointing you toward this. That, or we're talking about secrets or information that came out in it that may have to do with another person being involved. Looking at the Three of Cups in your environment, somebody acting and not thinking about the consequences of their actions, especially, you know, involving you, which is where you here with the Hermit kind of go into this like, leave me alone phase. I deserve better than this. I deserve better than to be treated this way. And with your King of Wands here, you know, here may be the person that you're dealing with Male, female, fire sign, doesn't matter to me. But this with the Knight of Wands, could definitely be talking about a person who is not in control of where their desires and their passions are leading them. And it is directly affecting you in a negative way. Now, for some of you, yeah, you may be needing to separate yourself from a person who has other people surrounding them because you know that there is an unhealthy attachment, and it would make sense with the King of Wands, right? Super attractive, right? There's that fire and that passion, but they're not, they're keeping things. They're keeping things, and they're keeping things that are not good with the devil being there. And then with the Six of Cups, that would be your own personal devil here, with continuously being focused back on the past experience. So with the Six of Cups, this, again, for some of you, may be a repeat of the past with a person in particular here. But I do think that with the Star being the overall, like I said, no matter what is going on here, there is going to be hope and healing in this situation. But that starts with you needing to shut yourself out from a negative attachment to somebody who clearly, has other people surrounding them. I have a hard time seeing this in a good light. A lot of that is because of the Five of Cups, but the devil just makes it even more so. One of those things where, I can't see this as support, I always try to stay hopeful when it comes to the Three of Cups, but this to me does look like a situation where somebody else is involved with other people. And again, right, it's a general message. You'll know if this is somebody that you're dealing with, especially for those of you who are having a difficult time with a relationship with somebody who, is just kind of playing around almost. And you need to trust that in your unique gifts, right? Your inner power is your intuition. It is your unique gift, and you need to trust your unique gifts. And you need to trust your inner power here, and your inner power is going to help you, kind of get through this process, get through this negative attachment, and get back to this place of hope and healing. And uncovering treasure beneath the surface lies great bounty. So beneath all of this crap lies something better for you, but you have to take the first steps toward that healing and start trusting yourself again in your intuition. And again, right, like I say it all the time, these are general messages. You will know if this is your situation. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be about, a relationship in particular. It could be anybody in your life here that doesn't really think about the consequences of their actions. Especially if we're talking about somebody that constantly is creating gossip or rumors, because I don't know, I kind of see that with that Three of Cups being there. But I feel like you are doing the right thing and getting back in touch with you and your own inner power, especially with the Hermit being here. Shutting it out, shutting out that unhealthy attachment, and shutting out the negativity in your life so that you can get back to that place of trusting yourself and having that hope and healing.